G'day, everyone. Welcome along to a Toon Under podcast. We've put it off for a day. We've been mulling things over after the Liverpool defeat on our local chat. It's been a little bit of a tough few days for Newcastle fans, to say the least. But we've decided best off rip the band-aid off tonight. So joining me to do that is Craig. How's things with you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, we're just in the middle of a storm right here. So if you hear the odd rumble of thunder, your house isn't falling down. There's just an approaching storm here on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's finally hit you from Brisbane. It's been a little bit stormy here, sort of torrential downpours, thunder and lightning, interspersed with the odd 30-odd degree days. So,
yeah,
loving Australia being Australia. But look, we'll try and go through the Liverpool game as quickly as we can. There's a few little talking points that we still need to get off our chest. Then we'll have a quick check on some transfer news, gossip, and just general thoughts about what needs to happen. And then we're going to finish things off. So if you stick around to the end, we're going to have a bit of a chat about the upcoming derby game for the FA Cup, third round tie against Sunderland at the Stadium of Plight. So look, we will try our best to be diplomatic on this one. At least I will anyway. Craig probably won't. But yeah, let's kick things off against with the Liverpool game. Wasn't exactly a surprise that we got beat. I didn't have high hopes for us to start with. Look, 4-2, I think, probably flatters us in the end. And I'm not here to say that we didn't deserve to lose that game, because I think the stats that we'll show you on the YouTube channel, if you're listening to us on audio, we'll run through those for you. But it doesn't make great reading. We were well and truly beaten. That saying that, it still doesn't make any of the refereeing decisions that went against us any easier, and we will cover those now. So look, we got to halftime 0-0. I'm still not entirely sure how. Martin Dubravka was having an absolute blinder, saved anything that came near him that day. We conceded a penalty to Liverpool that Martin Dubravka saved. What did you make of the first one before we get into the other two penalty calls?
Very soft. I don't think it should have been a penalty. There was contact, but it's not enough to bring a player down. And I don't care what anyone says, contact is contact. It's just not. It has to be meaningful, forceful contact as far as I'm concerned. You might as well have breathed on him, because he would have fell out exactly the same way. It was always going to be given as a penalty, It's Liverpool, it's the cop end. They're always going to be baying for blood every time someone's fallen over at that part of the ground. But Dubravka stood up, stood strong, and cracking save from Salah, who definitely put his foot through the ball, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he certainly wasn't messing about with it. No finesse to it. But yeah, Dubravka stood strong, got himself behind the ball, and made a really good save for us. Look, before we get on to the rest of the game, let's go to the second penalty in the second half. Look, I think a sniper in the crowd needs arresting at some point for this one. Even as much as Eddie's diplomatic, even he came out after this one and said that he didn't think it was ever a penalty. Martin Dubravka goes to make a challenge, but he pulls out of the challenge. The player initiates contact with the keeper and then takes 3 steps forward before he realizes he's overrun, that the ball's outrun him or something, and then decides to take a tumble. It's like a blatant dive, and Jota should be ashamed of himself looking back on that. If he ever sees a replay of that, you would hope that he's got a little shred of dignity in him that says, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that, but somehow I very much doubt it. And then also, I'll get you to sort of have your 2 cents worth on that one, but also Longstaff gets pushed in the back, which would probably be given as a sin bin attempt in rugby. And then that's just played on. So again, another two decisions that have gone against us in the second half. What did you make of both of those?
Well, the second Liverpool pen was an absolute joke, wasn't it? Genuinely laughable decision. When I watch that back in real time, I think, nah, there's no way this can be given. He, as you said, he makes 2-3 steps, and then he realizes, shit, I've overrun the ball, so I've got to throw myself to the floor. And that's exactly what he does. If he stays on his feet, there's a chance he still manages to put the ball in the back.
He probably scores it. Yeah, he probably still scores it.
He does. Yeah, but he thinks, you know what, shit, I've overdone this, and I don't really want to blaze it wide and look like a right tit. So I'm going to fall over. It's exactly what he does. They get the penalty. They go on to make it 4-2, and the game is pretty much dead and buried from then on. In terms
know,
of the one,
sorry, go.
when the whole doing VAR checks and everything, you could see Dubravka. He's literally laughing because he knows exactly what decision is coming, and he's done nothing wrong. He's done everything a goalkeeper should do. He's went to clear the ball. He knows he's not going to get there, so he's pulled out of the challenge. And you're absolutely right. He's went down like he's been shot by a sniper's bullet. It was genuinely laughable decision. And I think it was Ian Wright who said on Twitter, you'd rather go down and win a penalty than put the ball in the back of the net for your team in utter disgrace. John Terry said something similar as well. So if other ex-pros are coming out calling current ex-pros, then you know something's gone wrong.
I think it's just the fact that, you know, if that's going to be given as a penalty, then effectively all it means is that you run near the keeper, you kick the keeper, and then you fall down and you get a penalty for it, because that's essentially what happened. Yeah. So I mean, look, again, not complaining about the result. I think we're well and truly beaten on the day. It sticks in your throat that those decisions are still going against you, even when, you know, we didn't deserve to be in the game. We were battered, but to pull it back to 3-2 and have 10 minutes to go at them to get an equalizer, and then to have that decision kind of rip that chance away from you. It's not our fault that the keeper was on fire. It's not our fault that they couldn't finish like their chances. You know, it's like XG was through the roof. Apparently, Liverpool set the record for XG in any Premier League game since they started tracking that mumbo jumbo. And, you know, great, that's great. But it doesn't translate to an actual goal. And if they can't convert the chances, then that's not on us to suffer the referee evening things up, which is kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And getting onto the Longstaff one, if that happens in any other part of the pitch, it's going to be given as a free kick, isn't it? A shove in the back. So why isn't it given as a penalty in the box? That's the thing that really annoys me with these types of decisions. And if anything, he's almost denying a goal-scoring opportunity. If you go back to the Leeds away game last season, Anthony Gordon had a similar thing against Ellen Road. We were given a penalty, and the player was also sent off for pretty much the same type of incident. So, you know, it's getting the balance right, VAR not doing the right thing. And I always say, you know, they give the home team advantage. And I do think Liverpool do ride their luck at Anfield a lot. Most clubs do, but you kind of think Anfield gets rubber the green more than most places. But I think we should have had a definite penalty. They maybe should have had a first one. That one is probably leaning towards more no than yes. Second one, absolutely not for Liverpool. Not a penalty in any which way, shape, or form.
No, it's not surprising. One of the big points that I noted after the game was the commentary was an absolute disgrace. It was so utterly biased. They couldn't even hide their disgust and their you know, they were miserable that Newcastle had actually scored. Like, it was like we were upsetting the party. As soon as Liverpool did anything, they couldn't extol them enough. Not only that, but they couldn't even remember to like the names of the Newcastle players properly, and they kept calling Joe Linton Bruno for the entire game. So, and it happened multiple times as well. So it's not just a little bit of a faux pas. You know, don't worry, it's all good. It's only Newcastle. You don't have to remember their names as long as we know all the Liverpool ones. So yeah, the commentary for me was totally biased and kind of summed up the entire game, really. Look, we'll touch on some of the positives for Newcastle if there are any. I think the 2 goals were actually really good. Let's have a quick check on the team sheet in terms of the players that were put out there. Big call by Howe to drop Almiron. He's come in for a slating. I'm having a battle on social media right now about a post I put up earlier on, saying, you know, Miggy's just the last one in a long line of scapegoats that some fans seem to have. You know, it was Shola, it then moved on to Perez, now it's Miggy. You know, who else is going to be next once Miggy actually goes? And I've said it for a while now, Miggy is that player that will only be missed as to what he actually contributes once he's actually not there doing it. Like, he works his ass off, and I don't get why people are slating players that are playing for the club. It's not like we've got any other options at the moment. So having a go at a player that is literally working his ass off, doesn't matter what the shortcomings are. I just don't understand the mentality of putting your own players down when there's not a lot of options on the bench. So Joe Linton, Isak, Gordon up front together. Miley kind of started wide right, I felt, in terms of the actual lineup. The rest of it, Trippier was out supposedly with an injury. We'll see how he goes with that. So Tino started at right back. But you surprised at the Miggy drop? I think that's probably the only real surprise, considering how little else we've got on the bench.
Yeah, he's pretty much, if he's fit, he's starting right now, isn't he? Again, because we've literally not got much more options. But I think the fact that Joe Linton's now back fully fit, he just maybe wanted to give a little bit more strength down the side. And Gordon's pace is quick as Miggy is. He's not as quick as Gordon, and Gordon can actually cross the ball from that side as well without having to cut in. So maybe that was a method in the thinking or anything like that. As we know, Miggy doesn't have a right foot. So, it's just one of those things. But it's good to see rotation of the squad actually coming back into things now, because that's obviously something we've heavily missed over the past few weeks.
It's definitely nice to get a couple of familiar faces from last season that were kind of at the core of our successful season start to come back in. Now, I know we're losing games and we don't seem to be clicking on the pitch at the moment, but it's going to take players time to kind of get their feet coming back from long-term injuries until they get their form back. I mean, it's pretty makes a lot of sense. The bench is still pretty scarce in terms of the players that are going in there. We're still dealing with 2 goalkeepers. We're still dealing with three fullbacks, an untried centre half, and two effective centre halves in there as well. Or Dummett and Lascelles and Richie. These are the players that we were talking on socials before, and it's like, it's like, these players that are just being kept around for, because they're good in the dressing room. It's like, well, that's fine, but I'm pretty sure that Eddie Howe was not expecting to have to name Matt Ritchie on the bench out of a 25-man squad. So, you've got to take these things into consideration. But we're going to touch on what we feel is going to go wrong in the game. But let's have a quick chat about the 2 goals that we managed to score. Gordon, for the first one, just dinks the ball past the defender, runs onto it, puts a peach of a ball in for Isak, who just runs onto it, slots it home like there's nothing going on. There was borderline calls for offside. It was checked. He was miles onside. It was fine. Again, you wouldn't have known it was a goal given how miserable the commentary sounded. But yeah, what an absolute peach of a ball for Gordon to play Isak in.
It was, yeah, and that's another assist for Gordon this season, which already gives him more assists for Newcastle against his whole entire Everton career. So all the Everton haters out there said he was going to be a waste of money and won't account for anything.
Yeah.
That's a big middle finger up to you lot there. So yeah, Gordon is probably our player of the season so far. And yeah, it was a cracking ball, but the finish was even better. When it went to VAR, I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, yeah, we'll go back to the trigger moment of the same point last season when Isak had the goal disallowed. And it was in a very similar position as well to when he had that potential second goal ruled off. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He was miles onside, correct decision. But again, that man has ice running through his veins.
Oh, he's cool as a cucumber once he gets in front of goal.
The second goal, I actually thought it was Gordon. Yeah. I thought it was Gordon that took the corner.
I think it was Longstaff that took the corner.
It was. Yeah. I thought it was Gordon, but cracking header from Botman. Cracking header. Just outleaped everybody. And considering he's just come back from an ACL tear, that is one hell of a leap and a cracking header. And Alisson had no chance. Those are the type of headers you just don't save.
Yeah, no, he was towering above the defender that was supposed to be marking him. There was not really a contest there, and he's powered that straight into the goal. As you say, that put us back to 3-2, and we were in with a shout until the dodgy penalty call like kind of sealed the game off for us. But yeah, look, it's good to see him get that goal, and he's getting a few games under his belt now. He's starting to look a bit stronger in each of them. So yeah, no, that's really good. Look, as we keep saying, no complaints at the score, but a little bit niggly in terms of the referee decisions that you kind of are seeing now. And I think a load of Everton fans started chirping onto Liverpool saying since the FA had, since the Premier League had basically said, yeah, we got that one wrong against Tottenham, they've had everything go their way. And I don't think anyone was under any doubts that any kind of borderline calls were going to go their way, but even by their standards, it seemed like a bit of a stretch for both those penalties, especially the second one. So look, let's leave it there. We'll have a quick chat because I want to show you the actual stats, and the stats are just insane reading. So for Newcastle, 5 shots, 3 on target, we've scored 2 goals. We've done okay pass accuracy wise, is down a little bit, but the Liverpool shots 34, 15 on target, 63% possession, 85% pass accuracy, 550 total passes. To me, that's just screaming dominance in the game, and we just couldn't put our foot on the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool are a world-class team. People seem to forget that recently because they had a bit of a blip last season because they had an injury-ravaged side, just what we have now, and they ended up finishing 5th. But they have a genuine world-class side. They can go toe-to-toe with the best teams in the world. We, at this minute, we just can't because we don't have the strength and depth to keep going for a full 90 minutes. When they made, I think it was 3 subs in one go, I think it was £117 million worth of talent that came on. Again, we don't have that luxury as of yet. That will come back. But yeah, total dominance from the first whistle right down to the last. We did create some chances. We had a goal disallowed as well, which was rightly disallowed, unfortunately. So it's not as if we just sat back and absorbed the pressure and just let the floodgates open. We did have a bash. It just wasn't our day. And again, it's Newcastle at Anfield. So, what more really could you say?
Yeah, it's always one of those weird ones where you get a keeper that pulls off save after save, and then everyone says, oh, you're lucky because you should have conceded more. It's like, well, hang on, the keeper's there to save the ball. That's his job. Yeah. He's done his job and done it well. Like, how is that us being lucky? So that's always bugged me. And I mean, I remember like Schwarzer pulling off like 20 odd saves for Fulham one game against us at St James's Park, and that was just like dire. We weren't going to score if we played for like 180 minutes, let alone 90. So look, I mean, it's one of those games. Let's just draw a line under that one. But what I would like to have a chat to you about is, why has it all gone wrong? Because literally the wheels have well and truly fallen off the side. We've had our debates on our group chat. We feel Eddie is under pressure. I don't think any of us are saying that he needs to get sacked. I think we're all firmly behind him and that he needs to see this out. I think the owners have a long-term goal. They have a long-term game plan, and we'll discuss that in the little sort of transfer bit that we'll do. But we don't seem to be playing the same high tempo, high press game that we were last season that did us so well. But we weren't even doing that early on in the season when we had a fit squad. So I am a little bit worried that it's not just a case of kind of trying to manage the fitness of players, manage the fact that we don't have squad rotation. It seems like it's been this fundamental tactical change by Eddie Howe to try and, I don't know, maybe play more sustainable football. Maybe he thinks that it's a more European friendly style of football. But the one thing is, we just don't look like we're in the team's faces as much as we were last season. Are you in agreement of that? And what do you think probably needs to get changed?
Well, I'm kind of basing this all back down to that late penalty in Paris. The psychology of that must have knocked the players for 6. It must have done. You don't put in that much effort to get a point out of it, and then you go the following week and get knocked out of the tournament altogether. That's had a massive mental knock-on effect. It must have done. And then to go out of the League Cup as well in the way we did with that back pass type thing from trips, players' confidence is, I think, not rock bottom, but it's close to it. The win against Fulham was hopefully going to reignite our form, but that obviously wasn't the case. We had 2 bad losses against Luton and Forest. This loss against Liverpool, I think, was writing on the cards. I think we all knew what was coming. We just didn't really want to openly admit to it. But this game coming up at the weekend, as far as I'm concerned, we will touch more on it, is the biggest game of the season so far. Not because of who the rivals are or anything like that, but because it could get the season back on track. But I do think it's psychology.
I think it's a bit of all of it, to be honest.
I think, yeah, psychology from that PSG game, just something lingering in the back of their minds. But who knows? You know, there's probably a few things rumbling on.
No, I think there's definitely a bit of truth to the fact that we seem to be this confidence team. I think once we've got a wave of a few results up our sleeve, we seem to ride that wave of confidence well and truly. We did it when we stayed up. You know, we started putting some wins together and nobody could stop us. The same happened last season. We kind of struggled early on in the season, started to win, couldn't stop winning. We hit the international break, the wheels fell off, took us a while to get back going again. And as soon as we started winning more games, and then we kind of had a few little blips. We had a blip around the cup final, where I think the players were well and truly distracted about the cup final and what that would mean to the club and the city for the first silverware. I do wonder if the heads have been tilted a little bit by the derby game as well, and how big a game that is going to be. And as you say, we'll touch on that in a minute, but yeah, it's certainly confidence, I think, is at an all-time low since Eddie Howe took over. Apart from maybe the first couple of games where we were still under the Bruce after effects. But you know, to see people putting the pressure on Eddie Howe that, oh no, this is no better than Steve Bruce and he needs to go. You know, there's been a lot of extenuating circumstances. There's been a lot of things that have been, you know, just freak accidents. You know, you can't even say the injuries have been because of the style of play, because we've had dislocated shoulders and Elliot Anderson breaking his back getting out of bed, and you know, there's loads of stuff like that you're just not going to be able to account for as a manager. And you probably would have expected to have Tonali and Barnes and all of those players fully fit and raring to go, with some minor injuries interspersed around them. It certainly doesn't help that you've got sort of like your strikers, kind of both of them suffering from injuries here and there as well, just due to workload, if nothing else. So that kind of takes us on to the next part that I want to chat about, is personnel changes. We've just hit well, we're like on the 3rd of January now. You know, the window's been open for a couple of days. People are already chomping at a bit, saying, "Where's Calvin Phillips? You know, he should have been here by now. Why isn't the deals being done?" I'm not sure they fully understand that it's not quite like Football Manager on the computer, and it does take a little bit more time to sort of sort these deals out. The Calvin Phillips one, to me, is a little bit weird, because it on paper, it looks like the ideal signing for us and exactly what we need right now in terms of trying to shore up that midfield, give us a little bit more sort of protection for that back four, but also allow Bruno to push forward more and affect the forward play and get involved a little bit more. The one thing that is being reported, though, at the moment, and Jack brought this up on the group chat today, £7 million loan fee for what is effectively 17 potential games for him, 150 grand a week in wages. So that would work out in terms of the eligible games that he's able to play for us if he joined, as about 600k a game. So it's about a £10 million package in total for 4 months. As much as I think we need somebody in, and somebody in quickly would help, I fully understand why that is causing some concern to the owners. And we don't want to throw out the plans to chase down things just because of injury. Are you on board with that?
Absolutely. They are not in it for short-term investment for short-term gain. They want long-term investment for long-term gain. And Phillips doesn't offer us that right now, unless there is some clause in a contract that if we get him on a permanent fee, that loan fee is then part of the full transfer. that would be the only way that would kind of make sense. But otherwise, yeah, I'm totally with the owners against the decision on that, because it's a lot of money when we are battling with FFP. We're not getting the spoils of the Adidas cash until the summer or anything. So I don't want to go around like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, because we're absolutely not. But yeah, we do need to box clever in this transfer window, and deals like that are just going to hamper maybe any other business that we may want to do.
I think devil's advocate for a lot of the fans that are wanting Phillips on board early and don't see 10 million like as a big investment for a Premier League club these days. And realistically, it's not. It's not a huge amount of money, but it is if that's literally 10 million and we've literally got nothing to show for it at the end of the season. So if you start thinking about maybe, okay, look, if he comes in and he plays really well and he slots straight in, and we get a couple of wins on the board, we manage to secure some Europe, we maybe go for a deep FA Cup final, like get to the FA Cup final or something on the back of him shoring up that team, then great, but that's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes. That there's no guarantee that that's going to actually be the outcome. So you may just end up like pissing 10 million down the drain and have nothing to show for it. So I understand the desire to have someone in. I just think that it's dangerous to start pinning all your hopes on one player if it's not financially viable and not the right decision. It's not like it's not just financial reasons. Is it the right long-term move for the club? And I think that's what the owners are focused on right now. I mean, it is that case of we want to make sure that we still keep the big name players at the club happy, and I'm talking like the Brunos, the Isaks, the Botmans, that potentially could have suitors, if not in January, certainly in the summer, if we're not in Europe. And you want to make sure that you're still maintaining their commitment to the club, that you're committed as well, and that you're investing, and that you're pushing, and you're trying to get better. You're not just stagnating. And so look, I totally get the feeling behind all of those. In terms of the keeper, for January, there's a lot of talk that De Gea comes in for a free transfer. It's not really free when he's on that much wages. Do we need a new keeper now that Dubravka's found out that he's the best shot stopper in Europe?
Not at the minute. We don't know. If he wants to have reactions like Neo from the Matrix, then by all means, I'm more than happy for him to stick around for the rest of the season.
No, he certainly had a blinder against Liverpool. I'm still less than convinced that he's the right keeper for us long term. So two of our current players that I think a lot of fans are starting to jump on the bandwagon of wanting to see the back of now. We'll start with the less obvious one. Wilson is injured again. He's out. He's probably going to miss the Derby game. As good as a striker as he is, with his age and his fitness record, it's no good him being the best striker in the Premier League behind Haaland if he's never fit to actually play. And his stats were great, but we've now not got a striker, and we're literally putting all the pressure on Isak. Is it time to see the back of Wilson, try and cash in on him to a club that might want to take a risk?
I would like to see him as a solid backup striker. I think that is a very, very good option. Manage his workload a bit better that way. A lot of these injuries, and I think his latest injury came actually during training as well. When you consider he is on a separate training schedule to everybody else, so they do actually manage his workload, then picking up injuries during training it's a strange one as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, he's getting to that point now where he's got 5 games in and then he's got 3 games out. And it's just not a good mix. He can get form and then he's back off form and so on. He's not in the richest vein of form right now, which is coincidence, because it was this time last year he was out of form as well, just coming back from the World Cup. He had a big dip in form. So I don't know how many games he's going to miss. There's talk 2 or 3. So that's not too bad considering the stretches he's missed previously. But it does, like you said, puts the workload back on Isak again. And he's not exactly raring to go for a full 90 minutes every 2 games now. It's just
Well,
it's
I'm
not on.
still a bit dubious whether or not Isak's 100% fit. He just doesn't seem to be as. I mean, you know, he's clinical when he gets in front of goal, but he doesn't seem to be
Yeah,
quite as sharp as he was like when he was in peak form last season. So look, I mean, look, time will tell on that one. Personally, I would love to see Wilson stay around, but I think we need a third striker option because we can't rely on Wilson being fit enough for the season to just have two main strikers because it's putting way too much pressure on Isak, and I think
yeah,
he will then have to manage his workload as well, which is not what you want. So yeah,
no,
for me, the whole thing that we've had before where we can't go into the season with three strikers when you only have one striker up front. That's all well and good if both of your strikers can stay fit, but we can't rely on Wilson. So I think we need to like look at a third, even if it's a younger up and coming one. There's a talk resurfacing about Ekiteke. Personally, I'd take him if it's 6 months with a loan and an option to buy, not a commitment to buy, and the fee to buy him was reasonable. The loan fee was reasonable. You know what? I'd give him 6 months to prove himself or whatever. I can't fault the kid for wanting to go to PSG. It's like Shearer coming to Newcastle. It's going to happen. You know, you're going to join your boyhood club if you can. I just think wrong time, wrong place, probably the wrong attitude from him, and his attitude is probably the only thing that's a little bit squiffy on that one for me.
yeah.
Would you take him? Would you give him another shot?
If Eddie and Ashworth still trust him, then absolutely, yes. There's only one transfer that's gone a bit strange since them two have put their heads together, and that is Harrison Ashby. I don't get
Yeah,
that transfer. That was a strange one. But apart from that, every single transfer they've done has been top notch. Cannot fault the transfer business they've done so far. So if they do still think he's could be a decent player, a decent member of the squad, bring him in. Happy days. Yeah, no
yep.
problem with that whatsoever.
Well, they certainly seem to rate him. They went at him hard enough for 2 transfer windows before he decided to like jump ship to PSG at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they obviously rate him. If they still do, then yeah, I'm all on board for it. Give him a go. If he's no good, then we don't sign him on a permanent deal. It's as simple as that. But the time has come. We're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off. Almiron is not in favour. It is safe to say. A good portion of the crowd have effectively decided they want him gone ASAP. There's a few fans that are kind of still backing him. I'm one of the ones that do actually rate Almiron. I think he provides running, he provides pressing. I think he fits Eddie Howe's system perfectly. I don't understand that he gets so much grief when ASM was praised and idolized when all he had was a couple of fancy stepovers that led nowhere. But, you know, each to their own. Every fan's allowed to fan their own way, and that's my new motto anyway. But look, I mean, for Miggy, he's always one of those players that I think you're going to miss when he's not there doing it. And it's not really going to be appreciated what he offered until such time that he's actually not there doing it. But it's safe to say that the last couple of games have not done him any favors.
Yeah, I think the phrase you're looking before is like you don't know what you've got till it's gone, really. And I think that will be the case with Miggy. But give an idea of how the fan base is kind of reacting to Miggy's performances over the last few days. Just before the Liverpool game, we put a poll out on Twitter. And it was basically, if you could only sign one player on one of the positions below, which are you going for? The 4 positions were goalkeeper, defensive midfielder, right winger, or striker. We had just shy of 2,600 votes, and the right winger position took the majority with over 45% of those votes. So that gives you an idea of where the fan base is leaning towards in terms of wanting Miggy out and somebody in. See, I like Miggy. I just think lately he's give more negative moments than positive moments. And again, that chance at AC Milan in the opening 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was, when all he needed to do was tap it in with his right foot, but he went with his left. If that goal had went in, maybe he's not getting the abuse he's getting now, but he has brought us some absolutely superb moments. Yes, his assists aren't where they need to be for a player of his quality and fee that were paid for him. Yes, he needs to improve in that regard. But like I said, it's his work that he does everywhere else on the pitch, which nobody takes account for, which is fair enough because he is brought into the squad to score goals and create goals. Yeah. But if you're not doing those, at least these attributes are somewhere else in the game.
Yeah, he's one of those sorts of players that if you take him on face value, then yeah, you're not getting the end product that you probably want from a a right wing attacker these days. But if you look at his stats since Eddie Howe took over, people are bringing up his total record, and it's like, well, let's not do that because he was under Bruce, and Bruce had no idea what to do with any of them. I mean, everyone wanted Longstaff out of the club until Eddie Howe took over, and then all of a sudden now Longstaff he goes out injured, and everyone's crying and moaning, going, "Oh, we need him back in. He's like absolutely essential to our midfield last season." So it shows you how quickly the mindset of the fan base can change based on certain things. But let's discard all of that Steve Bruce nonsense, because we have done with Joe Linton. So let's do it with Miggy, and we'll focus on what he's done under Eddie Howe. He was the second top goal scorer for us last season, and he's the fourth top goal scorer for us this season. So it's not like he's not providing. He's just not providing this season quite at the level that he has in the last season. But as I keep mentioning on social media, had it not been for Miggy's purple patch last season, we would not have had Champions League football. So you can't kind of want him to be doing what he did last season and then bagging him out that he doesn't do enough and that he's cost us the Champions League this season, because we wouldn't have been there in the first place. So I've also said that there's no point upgrading a player unless it's an actual upgrade. And getting a right wing attacker to replace Miggy, and Minte is not him. Minte is the backup for whoever we do manage to bring in. He's not at that level just yet. Before everyone gets on about that, yeah, he looks great, but again, we have no recall clause in his loan deal, so we can't get him back without paying Feyenoord a fee to get our player back off them, which seems a little bit stupid to me if we decide to go down that route. Let him stay there, let him get his game time, and then we'll see what happens next season with him. But for Miggy, it's like you're not going to replace him for anything less than 40-50 million for a top draw attacker. How much did Diaby go for? That's the sort of player that you're looking for to replace Miggy. There's players out there. How much did Szoboszlai go for?
Was 65-70 million approximately.
Yeah, so you're talking a significant investment, which unlike a lot of fans who don't seem to want to understand that FFP is a real thing. It is holding us back right now. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, and that is keep us from challenging the big six. But it is a real thing, and we have to manage it, because for a fact as soon as we step over that line, they're going to hammer us like a bag of nails, and it's like we need to be very careful. So it is literally going to be a case of just making sure we try and be sensible about this. We had other positions that were available. The owners are on a 5-year project, so for them, replacing Miggy last window wasn't a priority if there were other better players available. Are you looking to try and upgrade him this window, Craig? I know the poll reckons we should, but what's your opinion?
I think if a player becomes available, yes, we should absolutely entertain the idea, providing the price is right. But we've also got to put into contention that Murphy is due back fairly soon. Bonds isn't that far off. And if Bonds is fit to play on the left, then Gordon can switch out to the right, just like he did against Liverpool. So it's not as if there's not options there coming back. We just don't have those options available right now, but we will have probably before the window closes. And that's looking more long-term than short-term as far as I'm concerned. Reinvest that cash somewhere else in the squad, i.e. a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think if you can prioritize positions, look, I think Miggy's not the only one that's out of form at the moment, and I think if we can prioritize other places that we just don't have a player for that position, then it's going to serve the club better than trying to replace a player. And if it doesn't work out, how much Man United pay for Anthony, and all they got was a human fidget spinner. Yeah, let's keep some of the powder dry for the summer, shall we? Right then, enough about all of that. Let's deal with the more pressing elephant in the room, and that is the derby match that's coming up this weekend. FA Cup third round. Newcastle travel to the dark side on Weir side for the Weir Tyne derby. First one for a long time because Sunderland have been in the doldrums in down to League One, currently floundering at about mid-table for the championship. This is probably the biggest game that we've had in terms of what's at stake, probably since the League Cup final. Would you agree with that, Craig?
I would, yeah. There's more than local pride up for grabs on this one, isn't there? It's first derby in 7 years. We haven't beaten them since Ryan Taylor's over the wall goal. Way back in, I can't remember what year it was now, maybe the 11-12 season, something like that. So it's long overdue that we get a win against these lot. Last thing we want to see is 7 in a row trending on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days.
Yeah,
it just can't happen. We have to teach these lot a lesson. We really do.
So I'm gonna say, like, the fans are well and truly up for this. It's got to filter through to the players. And I mentioned it earlier on. Do you think there's probably an element where the players are a little bit focused on this game being the be all and end all, and maybe they've switched focus a little bit from some of the lead up games?
Could very well be, because you've not only got the fact that you've lost the derby, but you've also lost the derby to a team in a lower league than you as well. So again, there's that mentality factor creeping back in. So it can't happen. It better not happen anyway. But yeah, you've got players like Byrne, there's Longstaff, there's Anderson. You've got all those local lads in the squad who know exactly what this game is about. And I think even Jamal ourselves has been around that long enough. He played in the last derby before everything happened in terms of promotion, relegation, that sort of stuff. So he'll know what this game means. And being the captain, the leader of that dressing room, he'll be telling every single one of those. But you've also got some players who've already played in massive games, whether it be for club or country. You know, you've got Trippier, who's played in a few London derbies, played in the Madrid derby. Bruno and Joe Linton, they recently played Brazil at the Maracanã. So, played Argentina, the Maracanã. So that's not exactly a small game either. I think that's a game Joe Linton got sent off in, actually. So, yeah, there's players in there that have big game experience. It's just whether they can transfer that experience to the pitch. Because on paper, this should be a walk in the park. But we obviously know that's not going to be the case.
So let's have a quick look at the lineup that you listen shift workers. Sorry, I literally saw this a little while ago and it's just clicked. So I apologize for that. That's actually quite clever. Well done, Craig. So walk us through the team lineup. What you think's going to happen for the match?
So Dubravka in goal, that's pretty much a given. Byrne will keep his place at left back and get the captain's armband again. Botman, Shaw, and Tino to make up the rest of the back four. Joe Linton, Bruno, and Longstaff in the middle. Miley to sit this one out from the start, I think. And then Gordon, Miggy, and Isak up top.
How likely do you think a red card for Joe Linton or Bruno is in this game?
Highly. Well, the fact there's no VAR probably lessens that chance, to be honest. Because any slightest little kick to the ankle or anything gets massively scrutinized these days. So hopefully that type of thing kind of gets brushed under the carpet. We've got a fairly experienced ref in the game, in Craig Paulson, so he'll know how to handle this type of game, you'd hope. Tackles will be flying in. And I know I'm going to sound a little biased here, but it's not like another derby, is it? It's not like a London derby where there's one every other week or something like that. This is the first derby in 7 years. Tackles will be flying, emotions will be high, and there will be a yellow card within the first 5 minutes of that, I'm sure. As long as no one goes daft and does a Tiote and gets sent off, and we can come out with our heads held high in our name in the hat for the fourth round, more than happy with that.
Yeah, I have my doubts that if they get physical, that Joe Linton won't just go mad and plow into someone. But yeah, look, we'll see. I think Dan Byrne will be well and truly chuffed if he gets the captain's armband for this local lad that he is. Longstaff as well will be up for it. I think they'll have everybody clued into just what this means. And as you said, it's not exactly like this is happening every season, twice a season for us at the moment. This is something that we've not experienced for a while, and it is something that I think a lot of these players will want to make sure they finish on the right side of. I'm going to ask you here what your expectations of the game are in terms of the result. I am not confident given how we have been playing. I think physically, I think they will look to bully us. They will be throwing everything at us. I don't think it will be a game of skill from the Sunderland team. I hope that we can keep our head and we can see out the early pressure and let our skill and our pace and our fitness overwhelm them in the end. Just need to keep them quiet for the first sort of 15, 20 minutes. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much the same as that, to be honest. Getting the first goal, I think, will be key because they will then have to come and attack us. And then that just leaves them open to the counter. Now, defensively, they're not solid, but neither are we as of right now. So it should hopefully make for a good, entertaining game. Obviously, one that goes our way. The crowd, they wanted some type of display, like anti-Saudi display, I believe, something like that. But the club or the FA refused to allow them to have it. Whether war flags are taking anything down there to have in the away end, I'm not too sure. But the fact that they have now allowed alcohol on the concourse and fans will be leaving by coaches at 8:30 in the morning for a 12-mile trip to then straight into the stadium, straight on the high. That's going to be a messy away end when things start going in. I remember I wasn't there, but I've seen the footage of when Ryan Taylor's goal went in over the wall, and it was literally limbs all over the place. Players 10 rows in front of them and everything like that. That was an early kickoff, I believe, in that one there. So
I think they're all early kickoffs. They don't want anybody having more drink than they need to, so it's always a lunchtime kickoff.
Well, it wouldn't even surprise me if all the pubs and clubs in the Toon decide to open up at 7 o'clock in the morning just to get a bit of early trading, just before they go and get the buses. It's got a feeling and a buzz to it, which I can't remember the last time a game like this has. It's got a different feel to the cup final, obviously, because there's no silver up for grabs, but bragging rights and also the head-to-head for the derby as well. You know, all-time head-to-head. Both teams have got a 53 wins under the belt. So whoever wins this one is now winning the head-to-head in the all-time. So that's a massive thing, in my opinion, anyway. But the big thing is, will they try and kick 7 shades of shit out of us from the first whistle? And because there's no VAR, that could always be something that goes against us.
I think you've, as you summed up, having an experienced ref in charge, given how heated it's likely to be, if they do start those sorts of tactics, then hopefully he stomps down on it pretty quickly, gets a couple of yellow cards out, has a bit of a chat to the players, and says, "Look, calm down, or you're off." I don't think anyone wants to get sent off in a derby because it is that walk of shame off the pitch, knowing you've let your side down. But look, I mean, I think the fans, when it was first drawn, were, this is great, we're going to hammer them. It wasn't really a big thing. I think it's because they're in a different league. It's been away. The overwhelming feeling from a lot of the Newcastle fans is we're aiming bigger than that now, so we shouldn't be worried about the derby game. It shouldn't be a thing. It's always going to be a thing, let's be fair, but the more games we've lost and the poorer our forms got closer to this game, the more emphasis I think has come on to the fact that, you know what, we could actually lose this and we're not playing well. And if they happen to hit on form on the day and it goes in off someone's ass and they get a lucky break, then, what's going to happen here? So I'm going to lay this out to you. Doomsday scenario. They win. and I don't want to think about this too much because it's making me sweat already. But doomsday scenario, we do lose the game on Saturday. What is that going to mean? I mean, apart from the fact that there'll be punch-ups in the street and the concourse, and there'll probably be a pitch invasion and God knows what else. And you know, I mean, who knows? I think everyone's going to lose their shit a little bit after the game if we do lose. However, I'm staying off socials. I refuse to go on for at least a week if we do lose this. What do you think it means for the club? What do you think it means for our confidence? Because the big thing for me is that if we can win this, it might be that springboard we need. And what does it mean for the pressure that is already pretty intense on Eddie Howe and the owners to like escalate that another level?
Well, firstly, if we lose, I'm selling this house and I'm moving to Uluru. I'm just going to pitch a tent down there and just forget this whole charade even existed. But yeah, the pressure will be lifted off Eddie because, again, it is a huge, huge game. And I don't think people outside of the Northeast or anyone who's connected to the Northeast realize how big of a game this actually is. I think it's downplayed by the media to a certain degree. But yeah, the pressure is on Eddie. We know that for certain. The pressure will be lifted. Yes, we got some further tough games coming after it, but getting getting the win in this one, getting further into the cup. And a cup distraction can be really good from league form as well, as we know from previous runs, that type of thing. So lifting the pressure, having a good cup run again, that eases pressure on the league form if we are progressing in there. So yeah, 3 point again. I come with 3 points because it feels
it'll feel like 3 points. Trust me, it'll feel like 12 points.
Yeah. But yeah, getting the win is utmost important for the players' confidence, for Eddie to get belief back into the players. Eddie already come out and defended the players left, right, and centre, which is fair enough. You'd expect them to do so. But then the players will start to believe again.
Yeah.
And the players will be able to leave the house, they'll be able to go to the shops, they're not going to get hounded by anyone in the street saying you lost against those lot, how dare you? You know, that type of thing. But there's one thing I just want to bring a question for yourself, Mark, is do you think because all the pressure is on Newcastle, Sunderland will just throw out the kids?
Nah, not a chance.
No,
they will be desperate for this to be a feather in their cap. I think, you know, if they don't get promotion this season, I think this is probably their cup final. Let's be fair. And yeah, I think the pressure's all on us. I don't think it will mean as much. I think effectively they've got a free hit if you think about it, because the pressure's on us. If we win, well, we're the Premier League club. We've spent money in the transfer market. We've got all these international players. They're in the championship. They're struggling for form or blah, blah, blah. You know, it should have gone that way. If we lose, if they win, then we will never hear the end of it. So it for them, it's like a win-win. For us, it's like a no-win situation, because if we win, then yeah, fine, great, we'll go through. I think it will be a huge lift for us, I agree. But it will be no doubt downplayed by all of the Sunderland fans. It'll probably be downplayed by the media. As you said, they don't seem to understand exactly what these games mean. But yeah, hopefully, look, come half two on Saturday, UK time. What is going to be like 12:30 at night here. Hopefully we're celebrating. My dad is over, so he is a Sunderland fan. We will be watching it together. So Sunday could be frosty, but we'll see. We'll see that when it happens.
Lisa's told me if we lose, I'm not allowed to go to bed angry. So don't worry, I won't be angry. I'll be taking my frustrations. I'll be smashing the fuck out of the TV. That's just the way it's building up now. I woke up this morning thinking, shit, the derby's getting closer. In the same way I felt that for the League Cup final. It's got a very similar buzz to it, and I am genuinely getting nervous, but it's also an excited nervous as well. So bring on Saturday. I'm sure the lads will do us proud. We'll get the win. We'll move to the next round of the cup, and we'll get rid of that 6 in a row hoodoo finally.
Excellent. And you've completely dodged the question about Eddie Howe being under pressure if he loses. So that's good.
Fair enough.
Right then, I think we'll leave it there. Hopefully, fingers toes, everything else crossed for the game on Saturday for us. A win on the board is going to be well celebrated for multiple reasons, and hopefully we start to get some players back soon, and we get some action in the transfer window soon as well. So put all of the crap behind us. Hopefully we've got some great wins and great goals to celebrate in the future, starting with the derby on Saturday. So cheers, Craig. Thank you very much for joining us again.
No worries.
And thanks for everyone for listening. Don't forget to do all the usual social bollocks, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you later, everyone.